With today's crowded classrooms, hectic schedules, busy parents, and demanding standards, it is not unusual for the modern-day educator to yearn for simpler times, times like those enjoyed by America's educators at the turn of the century. This was the time of the one-room school, the little red schoolhouse where teachers did not have to worry about meeting today's complex challenges, or did they? If you look closely at the students in the little red schoolhouse, you will find that there are more similarities to today's students than you might imagine. For instance, teachers in the one-room school had to face students with a wide variety of ages and abilities. Many of these students came from homes where English was a second language and where survival was a daily struggle. These challenges are not unlike what teachers have to face today. Today's teachers, however, must deal with an additional challenge. They must adapt and modify their instructional strategies to accommodate children who come to school with intellectual, emotional, or physical disabilities. In this course, we will examine how teachers are meeting these challenges in today's inclusive classrooms. Among the approaches to effective teaching explored in this course are Dr. William Glasser's choice theory and quality schools concepts. His non-coercive instructional techniques were developed in a special education setting and are currently being successfully used in inclusive classrooms in several of Dr. Glasser's quality schools. Many of the teachers we spoke to about special education found Dr. Glasser's ideas invaluable to creating a positive, caring environment for all students, especially those with special needs.
Now, most special education is not due to something wrong with the brain. It's due to how the people involved treat each other. We're not dealing with students who can't learn, who have mental incompetencies. We're dealing with students who do not learn what we teach or do not like the way we teach it. So we have to improve what we teach and make it usable to the students and explain that to them so they understand. And secondly, we have to improve how we teach it.
I think that choice theory can be a very complementary theory of behavior in working with all students, and maybe especially with special education students, because they often come with some social and behavioral needs that the general ed population might not. And what's ultimately responsible is self-control or internal control. And of course, that's what choice theory is all about. It's not a system of punishments and rewards that gets us through life. It's developing internal control so that we can be successful in a variety of situations. And that's another thing important with special education students sometimes, is practicing those social skills and behaviors that will help them in various situations.
Effective teachers in today's classroom share many of the same talents as teachers of yesteryear, including finding ways to develop a trusting relationship with all students, regardless of their backgrounds, learning strengths, or disabilities. The educators featured in these videos agree that positive relationships are critical in today's inclusive classrooms.
At Niagara, I work with the secondary teacher preparation program, which is 5 through 12, and we don't even begin to talk about instructional strategies until a month into the program. We spent that whole time talking about relationships and theorizing about building relationships. And there's a couple things. Glasser's our chief motivation person, and we look at fun, freedom, a sense of belonging, and power as what really motivates human beings to work hard. The other thing is that the people I hang with often are college professors who don't want to admit that readily, this whole relationship piece. But there have been tremendous studies and a great meta-analysis a couple years ago that shows it's just absolutely fundamentally important. Just absolutely, you can't go anywhere without it. So I can't overstress that.
Well, the basis of a Glasser Quality School is relationships. Relationships between all the people involved, and all of the people should of course, learn to put choice theory to work in their lives, because choice theory is the theory that when you put it to work in your lives, it's a theory of people getting along well together.
Our goal when anyone, particularly students, walks through the door of our school, that the students are safe, loved, and learning. And that's no different for students who struggle with school. And so we had to figure out, how can we help this child feel safe, feel loved, and be learning, and learning at their own challenge level. And it's the same for all children, but it's an extra challenge for students who don't fit the mold and don't automatically do well or do fine in school.
In the videos for this course, you will be taken to classrooms across the country to see how teachers are meeting the challenge of teaching in inclusive classrooms. The lessons will be presented with as little editing as possible so that you can see the instructional process from start to finish. The teachers will introduce their lessons, and after the lessons, they will evaluate their performance and comment on how the lesson went. As you view these lessons, you will be asked to take note of those aspects that you feel best reflect the concepts and practices described in the course text and supplemental readings. You will also be asked to identify the parts that could be improved and what those improvements might be. We will travel to an urban school in Kansas City, Missouri, for a visit to the 6th grade classroom of Diane Maddox. In this video, the subject is real-world learning and how teachers can teach across subject areas to better engage all students. Ms. Maddox will present a lesson combining math and science in an exploration of the sodium content of food.
The peer teaching I use a lot because I feel that everyone can be reached. Sometimes when I'm giving instructions, it's fine, but when the students are there to help each other, it brings out just a little bit more flair. The special ed students, the Hispanic students, the bilingual students, everyone gets to buy in and help out.
Next, for an examination of how differentiated instruction can be best used in an inclusive classroom, we return to East Middle School in Kansas City and the classroom of Mrs. Stephanie Kerr. She describes her class as a challenging mix of identified and unidentified special needs students with a wide range of learning and emotional disabilities. With such a diverse group of students, differentiated instruction was a logical choice.
When I first walked in the door, I had about 5 people come up to me and say, "Oh, you're the 6th grade teacher? Oh, please don't leave after this year." Or they'd say, "Oh, I had that class and I almost quit. It was bad." Just telling me about the problems that they had, and there's a lot of behavior disorder and difficulty and aggressive children and students that have been retained and are quite a bit older than the average 6th grade student, and a lot of struggles. And so I kind of try to take that with a grain of salt, because a classroom is what you make it. It's not what other people tell you it is. And so my whole thing coming into it was, I'm going to give these guys a new chance, because obviously they've got a story and they feel like they have a reputation, and I want them to be able to have a new reputation this year as being, maybe a class with a little bit more personality, or the fun class, the humorous class, something like that, not the class that nobody can manage.
In the next video, you will see how instruction is carried out in a resource room at Clarinda Middle School, to see how the teacher includes self-management skills in her lesson to help prepare her students for the transition to high school.
I really, in this lesson, wanted to make them become more independent as a reader, and I also wanted them to be prepared for high school when they have a semester test at the end of the trimester and it's never talked about again, or the English teacher says this book is due in 2 months and you're responsible for reading it and doing written responses on it. And I worry about those the special ed kids, not getting frequent reminders or daily reminders. Remember, this is due tomorrow, this is due tomorrow. So kind of a long-term assignment for them to be working towards. And with the independent contract, it broke it down a little bit into steps for them, so it wasn't just, it's due the 15th, good luck to you. They've kind of made some goals for themselves, which hopefully they'll stay on track and get it done.
In the next video, we will visit a high school communications class, where the teacher starts every period with a class meeting designed to engage both his general and special education students. In Mr. Balster's class, his students quickly learn that communicating is not just talking. It is also listening.
The ability to listen to students and not just act like you're listening to them, again, is a vital aspect. I mean, if you think about it, it's just speaking and listening. Speaking and listening, that's really all learning is. Again, for special needs students, they need that attention and they need somebody to listen to them. Sometimes that's the only thing they need that's going to take them to whatever level they need to be at to maybe not even be referred to as a special needs kid. If you listen to the students, you kind of forget the fact that there's special needs kids in the room, which to me is the whole process. It doesn't matter what your reading skill is. It doesn't matter, I mean, it does. But it doesn't matter if you're a resource student, if you're a special ed student, if you're a science student, if you're an artist student. You know, once you come into this room, and if we have an agenda within that particular class, these are the elements we must cover. If you listen to people and motivate them in a way to do the job, it doesn't matter what level you're at. Everybody has their own needs to get to a level that you want them to be at. But I guess what I'm saying is, there's been times I don't know which kids in my class are special needs unless I look it up or unless I have evidence that tells me they're special needs students. And most of the time the evidence I get isn't from the student. It's from the paperwork and from other teachers. So if you just work with a kid and listen to him, you may not even recognize him as a special needs kid. And if you're a special needs kid, how does that make you feel? So that's the importance of the listening, I think.
In the final video, we traveled to Proctor Elementary School in Independence, Missouri, for a lesson on riddles taught by 5th grade teacher Jamie Largent and special education teacher Trudy Harms. In the lesson, Jamie chooses to read a riddle created by one of her special needs students, and it is obvious that Kyle enjoys the attention and recognition. Here, Jamie and Trudy reflect on the value of inclusion for all students.
When I saw Kyle's face after reading his paper that he had worked on his riddle, it just reinforces that that's exactly why he needs to be in the classroom. That is exactly why you stand up front and you feel like at times you're just pounding the information, but when they're able to produce something that they feel is so worthy, and to see that on their face is just an incredible moment.
And I don't think that we want to kid ourselves in that these children aren't aware. They are aware. I learn different. I do things differently than my other classmates. So when they are chosen or something that they've created is chosen, it's just like anybody anywhere. When something that you've created has been picked and it becomes the focus of attention, that puts them in the spotlight. And for a moment, even if it's just for a moment, inside their little hearts and inside their little heads, they're thinking, the spotlight is on me for such an amazingly great reason. And for someone who struggles with learning or struggles with playing or struggles with anything, to be in the spotlight for something that they've been chosen as, you know, look at me, I've done something great, I've done something right. But for him to think, I was chosen, I was the center, and it was because I did something great. He will live on that for quite a while.
As you proceed through the learning activities for this course and view the course videos, you will see that the value of inclusion is that it reminds us that all students are more alike than they are different. A common learning environment allows and encourages the special and general education students to work together, to share experiences and to learn from each other. And with this interaction can come an understanding of how little differences matter and how much people are alike. And with that understanding comes acceptance and a realization that in school and in life, there is a place for everyone.